Okay, Tobes, I want you to swing to the top of your backswing there, mate.
Yep.
Get right up to the top for me. Now, we see so many players talk about this back arm, exactly where the arm should be at the top of the swing.
Yes.
And we see a lot of players try and get it maybe under in this way. We also see, if we look at a lot of traditional images with someone like Tiger Woods, they might have their elbows more in line like this, so level with the ground.
Yep.
But then very commonly we see it pulled up in this position. So we've got quite a lot of variance there.
Yes.
Right? And you recently did an online lesson with a player who was asking, and was quite inquisitive about where that back arm should be.
Yes, yes. And I think obviously we see a lot of different cases with the orientation of that trail arm. You know, we see lots of old images. We might see like Mr. Nicholas, who was up this way here, like this with a flying right elbow. But in my case, when I'm teaching with a recreational golfer, I like to find something that is more neutral and more repetitive for, I guess, more the unskilled golfer. So yes, I do see, you know, we do see the odd people up like this way here who are making it work. But in my case, the way I like to see a trail arm move, I like to create a very simple way that, I guess, most golfers can try and repeat and help with their delivery coming into the golf ball.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah,
make sense?
absolutely. And we can see a whole variation of back arm movement to the top of the swing, as you'll see up on the screen here with tour players that do it in different ways.
Yeah.
And they still all get the job done extremely well at the moment of impact.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's talk about a stock model for someone that their ball striking isn't as good as the recent PGA winner.
Yeah.
What is something that they should be looking for with the movement of their back arm to the top of the swing?
Yeah, okay, so the first thing I like to do is I'll definitely encourage and educate the golfer first on what it's supposed to happen. I think what then it does is it makes it really simple for the person to, I guess, to visualize where it's going to go in space, because I think there's a lot of moving parts in the golf swing. We incorporate the body turn, tilting, and then a little bit of rotation with our forearms can get quite confusing. So the first place I always get started with the golfer is, all things being equal with a nice grip, is talk about them the education of how much arm lift we have, how much flexion in the elbow joint we have, and then a little bit of this here. So without getting into too much of the crazy specifics about it, if you actually look at what the trail arm does within the golf swing, we have about 30 degrees of arm lift up here. So the trail humerus bone is going to come upward. We're then going to start with flexion at about 170 degrees to start off with. We're going to bring that to 90, and then we're going to add a little bit of extension to the back of that right wrist, and that's my whole backswing. So once people understand that that's it, I get to there, then it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in there for a second.
Yeah,
Toby. And we see a lot of players, they're under the illusion that, or the idea that the trail arm just moves around their body like this. The golf swing's a circular event, and a lot of players will just manipulate their golf swing by pulling their hands and arms around their body, and that's really where we see this back elbow get too far behind the seam line of the shirt, which is very common. But what you're saying there is that the arms, there's a lot more of this lifting component as the player would then turn their body, which will then put them into such a position where that back arm would be organized well to then give them the room in the downswing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. A lot of people are chasing, we see this delivery position of all the world's best ball strikers where they're coming down into this manner here into the golf ball. But if your trail arm orientation isn't in a good spot around this area here,
the top of the swing,
you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone, right? So I think you've got to get it really good at trying to organize that better, and then you won't have to worry about the specifics coming to the downswing.
Walk me through what we would like to see with players as they move their back arm to the top of the swing.
Yeah, so for me, one of the big things I'm big on in my instruction is making sure that we get the arms and club structure organized early. I think it's a terminology that a lot of my students will hear, right? So what I like to try and do, if you take the club back to club shaft level of the ground to here and the takeaway position to there, I prefer to see what more flexion in that trail arm a little bit there. So once you engage a little bit there, so what happens through here is that you've got the club now under control. You've got it in your wrist here, you've got it here in your elbow joint, and then from there, when we make our way to the top of the backswing, we go up, so make your way up for now. What we're looking to try and get here, right, is something along level of these elbows here. We're looking to get the trail humerus or your bicep muscle along there, alongside the outside of your rib cage, that area there, right, is a really good place to be. You can also kind of test out your shoulder mobility at this point in time. Now, the easy drill that I like to do, for instance, if I just kind of exercise you on a drill, is take the club to club shaft level of the ground. Now what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to get the player all the way back in here like this here.
Yeah.
So start again for me.
So really preset the feeling of hinge.
Yeah. So what I say now is your wrists are done.
Yeah.
Right? So you got two, the reason why the trail arm mechanics can be quite difficult is because you've got two hinge joints, right? You've got your wrist joint and your elbow joint to deal with. Now from here, right, all I've got to do from here is my wrists are settled. I've just got to move that trail elbow as I turn and tilt the top of the backswing. So go up to there. Great.
Yeah.
Now from here, to give you, Justin Rose I think is a really, really good example of what you want to try and find him in. You'll see that he looks very much like these similar alignments here, right? Marginally just a little high through that area there. Now, for me, if you find yourself that you're too far this way here, right? Start again, go back down for me. Is I would like to put an object here behind you at your hip height. So go up, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going up to create some sort of an avoidance aid through there. Now, I specifically prefer that over something like a connection ball when you're trying to squeeze your elbows too close together.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So from there, what I'm getting at with that is that I have an avoidance aid up through there, and then have that trail arm not get pulled behind it in that manner like that then. So that helps me keep the structure of my arms where I want it to be without creating too much discomfort within my elbows.
Yeah, so there's a couple of great drills that I use to help players get into this optimal back arm position at the top of the swing.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Number one, and you can try this at home when you're practicing, guys, see which one kind of gives you the feeling. And even if you're just watching this, just stand up and you can actually do this same motion just in your living room or in front of your computer. Just grab that front hand, place it behind your back elbow, and make a swing to the top, really not trying to pull that arm across your body. And you'll see you form this sort of look where that front arm is actually level with the ground. Now, if I just put that other hand on the club, it's a very similar position to what Toby was saying.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Tobes, that I actually quite like is you actually, from address, you just lift this golf club up, you place it on your back shoulder, you turn, and then you just feel like you lightly push the golf club away with your back palm.
Yeah.
And you'll see it gets into a very similar position as well. What are your thoughts on those?
But I'll tell you why number two there that you mentioned is a fantastic drill and why it does get a lot of success is because in the backswing, what we've spoken about throughout this video already is people pulling in the arms directly in behind them this way here like this, right? And we're using the term pulling a lot and we're getting around and we're pulling this in between us here. Where in the golf swing, when I talk about the arms and how they move, and what we showed in our demonstrations is how they move up and out away from you.
Yeah.
So quite specifically, if you're someone who's looking for width at the top and structure on the top of that backswing, you need to think about pushing, not pulling. So keeping that away from you at that time, because your body does, your elbow joint is designed to flex. It wants to bring that in close to you and get comfortable.
Yeah.
But what you're doing there and what you're demonstrating with that drill, how you're going up to here, the reason why it's so fantastic is because you're actually pushing away from you, creating that space where we often see the player get trouble coming in too narrow.
And I think one question that a lot of players will have while they're watching this, and I want you to kind of talk us through this, is they'll go, well, I see every high-level player at the top, it looks like their lead arm is pinned across their shoulder joint. Well, it's actually not that way, is it? The main reason that occurs is because of the dynamic elasticity of your body as you rotate. You have this sort of movement at the top that makes it look like it from that camera angle.
Yeah.
But if I was to then rotate just my chest, I'm not moving anything to do with my arm, back towards the camera, you'll see there's still a huge amount of space here between my hands and chest.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. And that's why, you know, when a lot of the exercise and drills that I give to my students is around creating this complex move to be quite simple. And I think once the student gets educated on how their arms move in space, how their body moves in space, and then bring those two together, it becomes a lot easier. So once you do exercises and drills and people understand that the arms actually just go up and a little bit of movement this way here with the forearms, very little of what Kerrod's saying there is that left arm abducting across that chest. It's very little of that. We see that because the body is turning. So one of the illusions that you're creating there and what you're educating them on there is hand depth, right? People chase butt of the club around the right ankle and then therefore end up pulling that trail arm to stay on our subject area here too far around their body in order to create this, right? And then get this collapse look at the top. When in fact that we know, come back to the start for me here, if you just do that drill where you hinge up to here and then just turn your body, the club's going around the body through rotation, not through too much of pulling of your arms around there. So when you see people who are in a really nice position and you physically are trying to do it, and you're like, oh, that's causing me too much discomfort. One, yes, there could be some issues around your mobility, but B, you aren't getting the concept of how the arms and body move together in space, therefore creating this collapsed look around the trail arm.
Yeah.
And therefore I put a lot of education and instruction in the trail arm because it is our dominant arm in the golf swing. So we use our right arm, so for the right-handed golfer, a lot of the time. And therefore, if I can educate how this hand works, because you communicate with this hand the best, then your golf swing is hopefully going to follow it.
Yeah, okay. So actionable drill for players to take home would be just to really experiment with what we've done here. I would say, I think the one that we've found nice common ground on is the lifting the kind of like hands or golf club up to around about the right shoulder territory there. Feeling like you're then turning your back towards the target and then feeling that light pressure or movement of the right palm pushing the golf club away into that position. And then from there, what would you recommend on how players would then convert this into a swing so they're not doing the old periscope throughout the motion, recreating the feel or just getting the feeling of...
I would yes, do that to get an awareness of where it's supposed to be. And then B, the next one I would do is I would do the preset drill, right? So if I stand here face onto the camera and to really simplify it again to what the hands and clubs are doing. So as soon as I do this in my takeaway position, right? That is my wrists are now completely organized within the golf swing. I don't need to do anything else. We can see that we're gonna have this nice flat look between the left hand and the back of that left forearm at this position of time. Then from here, my trail arm is flexed at about 140 degrees, right? Now, all I know from here is I need that to turn another 50, to hinge another 50, and then I'll just turn and tilt to the top of the backswing and go through and hit. So that way there I'm building that stepping stone, and then I start moving into some slow swings.
Okay, so I'm gonna map this one out very slowly. So I'm gonna preset some hinge. I've added some flex to my back arm here. And then from there, very slowly, I'm gonna feel like, for me, I love the feeling of the back of the right shoulder facing the target to complete the swing, because that's gonna stop me from wanting to pull my arms. So
if you do it here, go to top. Now from there, what we'll find, if you did keep that trail arm attached to the outside of the right chest, we would then now just have a little bit of arm lift. Right? And then that's the end of that's all our arms do on the golf swing, and then we hit it. So you teach someone how to body pivot, teach someone how to move their trail arm like that. And it's easy peasy.
Okay, I'm gonna slowly blend it into one. Yeah, and look, it just felt like I had so much room there right from the word go. And you can see that started off and stayed very, very straight for such a small swing, even though my awareness was not on hitting a shot out there. You can see just from that movement, the very simple movement, understanding how the arms do have a lifting component and they get the around look from the rotation of the body, don't they?
Yep. And I think it's a fantastic drill just to, to stay on the subject area there, is you're training the arms and club structure to work in a certain manner, and then you match that with some body pivot training and you've got your golf swing there.
Love it.
Thanks for watching this video. YouTube thinks that you would benefit from watching this one next. So click that card and it could be the tip that you need to take your game to the next level. I'll see you next time.